Hello everyone, this is TipTop Gaming here today with another MTG Arena Brawl video. Now, if you did not know, this week on my channel is Brawl Week, so that means, yes, every day this week I am releasing a Brawl gameplay video covering a different 3-cost commander from M20. Now, yesterday I went over Kaikar. You should really check that video out, it's really awesome. But first, you should watch this one, which is, of course, Kethis. So, Kethis is a legendary, obviously, creature, and he cares about legendary cards. So, what he allows you to do is make legendary cards cheaper, and he lets you exile legendary cards from your graveyard to cast legendary cards from your graveyard. So, it overall has a lot of value. Now, this deck probably would have been better when Dominaria was in the game, due to the massive amount of legendaries and, legendary sorceries and all that. However, this deck is already super fun. So, why don't we jump right into the gameplay? So getting into our first game here, I am fighting a Nico Bolas deck, which is generally pretty good. However, I have a pretty interesting starting hand. Now, I have Once Upon a Time, which can, set us up to get our cards right. That's good. I have Guild Globe, and I have Paradise Druid, but I have nothing to really spend that mana on besides my commander, so we're really going to have to pull into something here if we're going to do well. Now, of course, this deck is meant to run lots of legendaries, and I'm sure this deck could use some fine-tuning. I think Kaikar was probably a more powerful deck, just starting off right at the bat. So if you want to go build a deck, I recommend going to build that Kaikar deck. Or I did a Corvold deck last week, which is pretty cool too. Either way, my opponent here takes forever, and I'm able to cast Once Upon a Time. I choose the only land I'm allowed to, and I'm getting, land flooded, which kind of sucks. But my opponent isn't doing anything, so I'm like, okay, free win, blah, blah, blah. But if that were the case, I would not include it in the video. So what he does is he sits there, but then he finally plays it. So luckily I've had the 1-up on him. Now I'm able to play my commander while he's played his first land, and I have removal ready in hand. Now I played Paradise Druid into Guild Globe, and then I have a bunch of cool stuff here. So let's see what we end up getting to do. Now it looks like I'll be hitting my land drops for a very long time. So I start calculating what I'm going to do, and it's obvious I'm going to play Golden Egg. Now I do get Oketra, which is our nice big boy that will allow us to do well. Now I'm able to pull into that with Golden Egg. I'm able to hit him for 5, so at this point I'm really dominating. And he did miss that land drop, which is very important, especially for a commander that has such specific casting costs. Now he does get Ironcrag Pyromancer, which is annoying, but I managed to deal with it. I don't worry about it. He blocks it with that, and luckily my commander's just out of the reach of Ironcrag Pyromancer in terms of it being roasted, so the only thing he can target there is really the Druid. So it probably would have been smarter for me to not attack with the Druid, but anyway, he kills the Druid. It's probably better than hitting my life total. I really don't need the mana, so next turn, I'm obviously just going to play Prison Realm, especially with the amount of mana I have, which then allows me to scry and get maybe more lands off the top of my deck. And so I do get Paradise Druid, which I probably should have kept there because it's a creature to ping Oketra, and at this point, I'm not drawing anything better. It's also really annoying because the lands in my hand I can only get rid of 1 per turn, and that Castle Lochthwain punishes you for having lots of cards in your hands, so I would love to get rid of it, but either way, it's looking good. I have a 3/6 double striker and Kethis, of course. And so he's down to 6 life, which means I don't have lethal next turn, but I have very close to it. If I get removal or something, I can win, or if he concedes. But we'll see what happens here. Now, he does get his turn, and he does have Field of the Dead, which could be very dangerous if he can get up to that magical number, which he's only 2 lands away from now. This player seems to keep leaving his computer, which is kind of obnoxious, but he plays Mnemonic Betrayal, which I thought was a lot better, but he only gets the 2 mana to play, so what does he do? He plays my Once Upon a Time, which, good for him, but I don't think that's really going to save him. So I don't get anything cool here. Now, I don't know what I do, so I put that land there, trying to thin my library of lands. Now I attack with everything, and then I draw a card. Now I don't get anything from that, which kind of sucks. Now I probably should have drawn the card beforehand, but it doesn't really matter. He taps for 1, and he sacrifices it, but the thing that he doesn't realize, oh, never mind, I forgot, my creature doesn't have trample. So yeah, that's a perfectly valid thing to do. So then he plays Liliana and makes each player sack 2 creatures, and I'm like, oh, and so I put Kethis back in the command zone and Oketra back 3 from the top of my library. I get Nissa, get a hasty land, and kill him. Woo! Yes, every point of damage mattered in that game. Now, we move right into the next game. He's playing a Krenko deck, which is very interesting. I have a lot more. I have 2 legendaries in this hand and Gilded Goose, which is really good. Unfortunately, I have no way of playing it, but then I decided to mulligan it, which I don't think was the right decision, but I end up with this hand, which has no early game accelerant, but next turn, anyway, I'll be able to play Kethis, which is a pretty strong start. He's a pretty beefy commander, but then I decided to actually play Oath of Kaya because he plays his commander. He then plays the Weird, and he's just playing all these value creatures that I don't want to have to deal with. Now, I play this and get out Kethis, which should be able to block the 2/2 at least for now, but I probably wouldn't unless he's tapped out. So let's see what ends up happening. So he attacks with everything, and so I obviously suspect that there's something going on here. He could cast any instant or sorcery and, boost it. Now, he plays Dreadhorde Arcanist. Now, I'm able to play Liliana if I want. Now, remember, he makes everything cheaper, Kethis, so I decided to play Storev, which would allow me to return things, and I'm also able to play Gideon at the same time, which is a very powerful combo, because I can give Storev Indestructible and just keep swinging until it eventually gets through. I decided to give him Indestructible. In reality, it probably would have made more sense to give him Vigilance, but honestly I probably wouldn't block with him anyways, so it's not that important. Now he gets this banner out, which is so obnoxious because, well, obviously it boosts all of his red creatures, and he's playing a mono red deck, so, and that also means if you get to Krenko out with a bunch of goblins, I'm basically going to lose. Now, he attacks a Gideon. Now, Oath of Kaya gratefully hits him for that, and he obviously then kills my creature and gives it for his thing first strike, and I'm like, ugh, I'm like, keep losing here. And so what I do is I play Liliana and I create a zombie. Now I probably should have made him sacrifice 2 creatures because both of his creatures are very useful, but it's fine. What does he do? I think he would play Krenko. That's what I would do here unless he has some better play. He plays Jaya instead, which is really devastating, because now every single goblin he creates with Krenko now does 3 damage. Now, this is not looking good for me, especially saying he's at 18 life, so it's not even like I'm that close. Now, Liliana is, of course, being useful, allowing me to basically draw a card each turn, but he's able to ping Liliana, and it's just not looking good. So what do? I create a zombie, I basically get out a bunch of creatures on the field, and I swing with my 4/4, which is nice, because I'm able to hit him for 4 and hit Jaya. Now, he does have a 6/5, which is really big, so I can't really do anything, and I don't have enough legendary cards in my graveyard, which I think there needs to be more legendary cards in this deck in general to make it better, but we'll see. So he has this, which then gives, like, everything craziness, and, it's insane. I basically accept that Liliana's gonna die here, so I'm basically just like, here, take Liliana. Now, I might have wanted to block with the 2/2. Actually, I don't think I could. But he leaves himself fairly tapped out. I mean, I'm able to exile 2 cards from my graveyard to then cast Liliana. Then I make him sacrifice 2 creatures. Now, I think I make a mistake. Yeah, I accidentally sacrificed Questing Beast here, which probably wasn't the best of decisions. For some reason, I thought I could then just recast it, which, because I had that whole clause, and then I ended up losing. So I really threw that in there to show you the deck kind of gets nowhere fast, and I just really wanted to show you that. Now we're going to move on to our last and final game. He's playing red again, but he's playing a Torbrand deck, so this is obviously going for a very different approach with a bunch of not with a bunch of 1/1s, but with a more rush style of deck, which is very obnoxious, but it will work. It'll do. I managed to get out Chromatic Lantern, which is okay. I mean, it makes sure I have all the colors I need. It's also a mana source, so that's not bad, but at this point I have 4 mana. Next turn I'll be able to play my commander, which can really easily block those 1/1s, which is really good, but instead I decided to play Nissa to be able to create lots of things that can block 1/1s. Now he does, he casts that, and like, it's craziness. I mean, I love Brawl with a passion. It's so wonderful. Now I let Nissa die, and I don't know if that was the best choice. I think the 2/1 was less valuable than Nissa, but especially with Stone Coil Serpent in my hand, but that was a mistake I made. So he then plays the Bone Crusher Giant, I believe is what it is, and I play Gideon. I give Kethis Indestructible, and I swing with him. Now, he doesn't realize this and blocks. or he does realize it and realizes that it's not that important now. He now has everything deal 2 extra damage, so I do that and I have them trade places because that's a very important card for him. And what I do is I basically create an 8/8 Trampler. Now this should be able to avoid any extra damage that would be caused, and so I'm doing pretty good. Now what happens next is obviously he has a powerhouse, and I'm able to block the Torbrand, and then he realizes what happened and that I have a giant 8/8 that he can't deal with. So that's it. Now, do I think I would have won that game? Maybe, depending on what my pulls were. I think that the deck isn't as powerful as Kaikar, like I said, but if you do want to check it out because you like that kind of gameplay, you guys can, the link will be in the description down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!